Yeah. It depends, right? It depends on the gigs. So some gigs, you get the first three songs to shoot. If they're big bands, usually it's the first three songs. Nine Inch Nails was the only band I've ever shot that had seven, eight, and nine be the three songs you could shoot, which I thought was brilliant.
Okay.
Because to me, if I were on stage, the first three songs are the first. I'm getting myself acclimated to the stage
Yeah.
and to the crowd. If I was already in it at seven, eight, and nine, I don't. I'm not even noticing the photographers. All I'm doing is performing. So I
Yeah.
thought that was great. But if it's the first three songs, then you've got to get in there and shoot all the different angles and perspectives and stuff within those three songs. If it's a band that I'm shooting for the record label or for the band themselves, or then maybe I can shoot the whole set. Local bands and smaller venues, you can shoot the whole set. But if you do too much, and you have a billion things to
Yeah.
edit.
Woo. So we clap. Todd Zimmer. I'm right. Okay. He- Hello, everybody. Welcome to our new episode. Actually, it's not a new episode. It's the first episode of Top. That's how a friend of mine abbreviated it. Is the Other Place podcast. Here, we're gonna talk about everything related to photography and videography, right? And we're gonna talk it in a way that people that watch us can learn while watching us. And here, I have actually the pleasure of being with Todd Zimmer, experienced photographer here in Kansas City. And today we're going to talk about black and white photography. All the things that actually come into mind, come into challenge whenever we're going to go to a place or whenever we're planning to actually get up a series of photography in black and white, the challenges and everything like that. Okay. Also, we're going to be using examples that of black and white photography that I have taken and examples of yours. Of course, yours is going to be better, so please take it easy on me. Okay, to start with, Todd Zimmer, what is your name and what kind of photography do you do in general?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Todd Zimmer, and I mostly do performance photography. So mostly rock and roll, blues, rap.
Is your favorite music you like?
Yeah, that's most of what I do. Yeah, I do some corporate stuff. I've done lots of weddings, and
Do you like it?
yeah, I like the rock and roll best.
Why do you start doing that kind of photography?
Ah, man, I guess I've been doing it since college, and it started with friends' bands that needed pictures for album covers and things.
Oh my God. So that's how you started. But do you always find love in photography like from the beginning, or did something happen that makes you think, hey, maybe this is what I like to do?
I got my first camera when I was in middle school, so I've loved it all my life. My one of my uncles was a photography teacher, for his whole career, and my grandfather was a photographer as well.
From there on,
So yeah,
you fell in love with
I grew up
photography.
with cameras. Yeah.
So, what is the most important thing to start a photography business, specifically here in KC?
Uh, I guess just doing as much as you can. Shooting everything you can. Every kind of photography is different. I remember when I first started shooting my son's soccer games, and I was using all my rock and roll thinking. And after the first game, I looked at the pictures. I'm like, oh, this is wrong. So, it's a whole different kind of shooting. Sports is. You don't think of it as so different because you're capturing light and you just want the exposure proper. But the whole way that you set up the camera and the different, how you adjust for the light is totally different for sports and rock and roll, which
Yep.
makes sense. But it wasn't real until I saw the end results, and that was very blatant.
So once you do it for the first time, and then you go and see the pictures, and you realize, oh, this is different.
Right.
It's not the way I thought. Usually, when you're actually taking the pictures, you don't realize it. Like you're just taking the pictures, or maybe you do.
Yeah, not as much. Not until they got bigger. On the back of the camera, I'm looking to see
There you go.
composition and exposure, but then the motion blur and all the things that go into sports, which go into rock and roll as well, but you've got a whole different type of lighting.
Yeah.
So it's a
Who,
whole
who,
different.
who makes you change your technique, right?
Yeah.
Like for example, at first you think of certain approach to take every picture, like from this way I'll be fine, and also you realize you want to be closer or you want to be a little bit further away, and if I mean you told me you were taking soccer pictures, right?
Yeah.
So do you move through the field to
Yeah.
try to get different shots.
Yeah, I always move my perspectives. Usually, whatever I shoot, well, sometimes it gets me into trouble because corporate shots and weddings, people want specific things, and I'm always trying to do something a little bit different, which is good sometimes and not always good. So it's you need to know your the end use of what you're shooting.
Yeah,
So,
I imagine now that you mention it that you first have to get like the main shots and
yeah.
then
Or you just know you have to be cognizant of what you need to capture, and then within there you can interleave the artistic things you want. And then sometimes you can educate the client and be like, oh look, and then I know I tend to not shoot horizontal or with a parallel background. I tend to have my angles cocked, and I think that brings a lot of energy for performance. And I remember shooting a wedding once, and my camera, I would be cocking it, and the bride was asking me if I could just take some square pictures. Like, yes, 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 yes.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
I had to
sure.
think really hard about it because my natural tendency is to cock the camera. But
Yeah, sometimes
so
we have to adapt.
yeah,
But I
yeah,
imagine when they choose you to be their photographer, they know what you do. So
yeah, yes, but
sometimes this
still they want what
so
they
style be
want,
like,
which
yeah,
is okay. I mean, they're the client. So, but you asked if I move. I always move. So I'm always trying to shoot from a perspective that somebody that's watching isn't seeing. So if I'm shooting soccer, I'm laying on the grass,
okay,
shooting up,
yeah, it makes it
or
really different.
yeah, or through the goal, or wherever people aren't observing, because they saw the picture that's at their perspective in their mind. They didn't see the picture from backstage, side stage, or
No, and
low
when
in
they
front
see
of the
it, they'll be
stage.
like, oh,
Yeah,
I didn't see never see this from this perspective. Yeah.
right, right, and it brings a little more emotion. It brings more, like for concerts and sports too. It brings more to their experience when they go back and look because they remember what they saw, and then now you're adding to it.
Yeah, how they
Yeah,
lived in, now how they see it now.
yeah.
So, yeah, to get into topic number one, it's gonna be shooting in black and white. First question: how do you prepare the photo? And when I say how do you prepare the photos, what do you take into account that you don't take into account when you're shooting in color? Like what is more relevant in this kind of photography?
So you're probably not going to like this, but I don't think too much about the differences because there isn't tons.
Okay.
I don't see, you're capturing light, so as long as the exposure is good, then black and white or color will be good.
Okay. So one main thing, exposure, right? In order to black and white, what camera settings or mindset do you need to have in order to get those results that you want in black and white? Because I've seen your pictures. They have a lot of detail. Is it the same, or you don't think about? Is it the same to like in case you're shooting in color?
So I always shoot in color unless I'm shooting film,
Okay.
and then I'll pick what I shoot either film. I'll shoot either color or black and white if it's film, But in the camera, I always shoot color.
Oh, shoot
Because
color.
you can always convert it to black and white, but
Oh,
you can never convert it to color.
yeah.
Right.
Big detail.
So yeah, yeah, and then there's like I use filters. There's Nick filters are filters that were developed around film, so they actually scanned in the film and the film grain, and applied all the contrast characteristics and everything about the film, be it color or black and white, and then you apply those filters to the digital picture, and it makes it feel like the film. So to me, as long as what I'm trying to capture is the emotion of the situation, and so as long as I capture that emotion, then if it's better in color, I'll leave it in color. Typically, the pictures I like best, I turn to black and white. So the ones you're looking
Okay.
at, the reason why you were drawn to them is because those are probably the best pictures of that gig.
Oh, so that's your criteria to change like
Because I like black and white best. I think it's more emotional. I think it gives you more. You're able to
imagine. I think it
Yeah.
gives you more space for imagination.
Right.
Like
Exactly.
you imagine those colors, and I like it that you mention it that the ones you like best, but it's not as specific as like there's only one kind of feeling you can transmit black and white. No, I mean without my you can do anything, but you can treat it as the one your big pictures you turn into black and white because you really like
Those
them.
are just my favorite. Yeah, and I think it gives the most emotion typically. But often I found that well, not always in performance art, but women tend to not like black and white as much as men. It's an
Okay.
interesting thing that I realized after doing some weddings and some others and some rock and roll shots, and the women tend to steer away from the black and white, which is I'm not exactly sure why, but that's the trend that I've noticed.
Actually, one of my questions
Mhm.
uh, about what you were mentioning is we're not going to talk about edition right now. Maybe in
About
another
what?
about edition like
Oh,
editing.
sure.
We're not talking about the editing of the pictures because that's like
It's a whole other
a
thing.
whole nother thing.
Yeah.
There's so many details in.
Sure.
I mean, there's a lot of details already in the photography. So
Yeah.
imagine editing. So, but your criteria is one of the things I was gonna ask you. Like, how do you decide which one of the pictures are the ones you actually choose to put in black and white? Do you decide it when you see them in the big screen, or you decide it when you see them in the camera already?
Sometimes you can tell right in the camera. I mean, often you can, but usually I like to see them in a bigger screen because you can tell if it's really in focus. I like things to be really crisp. Um, and the criteria is what usually I'm going to speak mostly about music. So when I feel like the picture captures what the music sounded like, that's the picture I want. The one that epitomizes what it sounds like, so you can hear it through the picture. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, so of course, most of your pictures are like just capturing the natural moment. You look for different angles for that moment. When you catch it, it's like a unique moment because they're right there,
Right.
right moment. You were singing the right part of the
Mhm.
song, a
Well,
bunch of stuff.
yeah, and I often will use wide angle lenses because I'll get the focus of the main person, but then you get all this extra stuff. You get people in the crowd, you get people on the side of the stage, and there's gems that you find after you shoot when you're going through and you're post processing.
Okay.
That's kind of the cool stuff to me, and that's why I shoot wide. I use the fisheye lens. I use a 16 millimeter lens, so you can get that whole feel. I like close-ups on the face. Those can be really great, but it tells one story.
Yeah, if to tell more story, you need a
Yeah,
wider
I
lens.
like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. So, before we pass to topic two,
Sure.
topic two is going to be natural daylight before professional light. When I say professional, it's like you control the light.
Sure.
All right, that's the topic two. First question about it. I didn't have it in the script, but first question: have you ever shoot in black? I mean, like, have you ever prepared a photo shoot session where you say this is going to be a photo shoot in black and white?
Yes.
Yes. What do you take into account?
Usually when I do that, I'm looking for a really high contrast picture. So usually it's a very dramatic, like old school Fresnel lights, like the 20s.
Okay.
So the Hollywood from the 20s.
How do you prepare the lights? I mean, where do
Usually it's one light and it's a Fresnel light. It's a real hot light.
and you go to a dark place?
Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't have any other ambient light.
So you have only one light. But is it the studio already all black and you use just that one light?
It depends. I shoot all over, so I'll take the light and whatever it is. It doesn't have to be black, but when your subject is really bright in one spot, most of the rest of the room becomes not bright.
So when you're in the concert, right? Now we're talking about light that you don't actually control by yourself. You prepare. Do you have? I mean, I imagine you have places to go to whenever you want to like get that feeling. Like, of course, every space, every concert space is different, of course, but it's like basically the same set. I mean, you have the stage, you have the people, have the lights on top of the stage.
Every venue is different.
Every venue is different. Yeah, so every time you get there, you just
Well, so it depends. It depends on the venue and it depends on the bands. So sometimes, like big bands, when I've shot, AC/DC or Motley Crue, those bands will bring in their own lighting director. So later, Kenny, they have a lighting director and they have a stage designer, and they've designed the lights to do something specific for the
Okay.
show for every song.
Do you talk to them before
No,
going?
no. That's
No.
that's them.
That's them. Do
Oh,
you just
yeah.
go and
I'm
take
just a
pictures?
photographer. Yeah,
Just
they
go.
don't really care about me. What they're thinking about is what the crowd is seeing.
Okay.
So I have to take what they give me.
But for example, there's no. I imagine there's a moment when the light is only for a few seconds on the character you want to shoot.
Sure.
So
You just have to you
just have to go
yeah, you go for it when it's there.
and see how it goes. So how do you? I don't know if have you ever had this problem. How do you shoot in low light conditions?
Yeah, I mean it happens all the time.
Happens all the time. What do you do? How do you figure it out?
Well, so I shoot with 1.2 and 1.4 aperture lenses, so really, really big apertures.
And that basically solves the problem.
Well, you got real soft focus, a real short depth of field, so it's difficult. Focus is fairly difficult.
Imagine.
But yeah, that's the only way that I know of to get around it. Now, stages have turned to a lot of LED lights.
Okay.
And so those, your eye doesn't see it, but the LED lights actually refresh, and so they'll refresh in a white light in between that your eye can't see, but the camera will capture. So I'll usually shoot in 3 burst shots. And I'll
Okay.
like bam, bam, bam. And sometimes, often, one of those shots will be bright white light. And so you'll get something that has a higher exposure, or you're able to get something that's in the dark. Especially when so many venues and a lot of bands like red light, and it's really difficult to shoot.
Different, like really really nice detail that you shouldn't treat as.
Yeah, so if you shoot in a burst like that, sometimes you can capture that white light. And also in like red light, I'll change my white balance to 2500K so that it's compensating for that red light, so that it doesn't overexpose it less, and it pulls some of that red light out of the picture. If I'm shooting in green or blue, I'll shoot at 10,000K.
Okay.
And then that compensates. The worst color to shoot is purple, because it's a combination of blue and red, and there's no compensation because you compensate for the one and you blow the other one out. And so purple is the worst color. If I have a chance to talk to the LD or the house lighting person, or I adjust the lights myself, I will pull the purple out if I can.
Just keep like one simple color so you can.
No, just don't use purple.
So two things you mentioned. I mean, on the first one, use lenses with a lot of aperture. So that compensates the problem a lot. Second, about when you use LED lights in the concerts, are the ones you shoot at. If you can shoot in the theaters, it's gonna help you a lot because of lights refresh. That's really important detail.
Yeah.
Because whenever everybody's in a concert and they don't know this fact, it might help us a lot.
Right. And I found that by accident.
Third topic is going to be angles and framing.
Okay.
You take pictures, capturing the moments on this part. It's going to be really complicated because whatever you're going to do, you have to do it really fast. And I mean, like, how much and you just take it.
Angles. Same thing with the soccer and stuff. I always try to get different angles. I always, when you're shooting any performance, especially like Broadway type theater performances, you just can't be in the way. You can't be in front of anybody, period.
No.
And so I usually try to shoot dress rehearsals for plays and musicals and things. But for rock and roll, it's really important if you're in front of people. I always kneel down. I always get down. Like I'll stand up and shoot, and I get up slowly so that I don't get a beer spilled on me because I hit somebody's hand, or so people know that I'm moving, so that they understand, so I don't have to surprise them or whatever. So I'll get up slowly. I'll shoot.
How much do you think the black and white the angle affects the black and white pictures?
Yeah, I don't think it does.
For example, if I have a picture, same angle, same picture, let's suppose lighting, it's the same in every picture, but one's in black and white with the other ones. You're thinking the angle adds more strength, adds more feeling, center angles add more feeling to the black and white pictures, or?
No, I don't see it that way. What I see is that black and white adds to the composition instead of the composition adding to the black and white, or altering the black and white.
Okay, I see.
So the black and white, gives me more emotion. It's not how I took the picture, it's how I treat the picture.
And that kind of spawned the second question, that is it easier to transmit some feelings in black and white than in color?
Yeah, I think often black and white, it's a classic. If you're thinking rock and roll, you're thinking Led Zeppelin or something in the 60s or 70s, and these classic iconic shots.
Takes you back.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of, it's right. It's emotional.
Which one is the first one we're going to talk about?
So this is a picture of Alison Mosshart's shoe at Midland. So Alison Mosshart is in the Kills and Dead Weather with Jack White.
Okay.
I do a lot of pictures of shoes. So I like shoes, and I think
Awesome.
A lot of rockers have really cool shoes. So in any case, the first picture is black and white of Alison's shoe on the monitor as she's singing. And then the next picture is of Radke. They're a local punk band, three brothers. Grew up in St. Joe and moved to Kansas City, and now they're on tour with The Offspring. They've toured with Foo Fighters. So that picture is
Oh, the shoes really good.
yeah.
Sorry. So that picture.
So that picture you can actually see in the left-hand corner. You can see a pole with a camera on it. It can't really see it. You can't see it right here in the app, but when you
Okay.
pull it up, you'll be able to see it. And so what I've got is I've got a monopod that I put the camera on, and then a remote trigger. And so I'll put the camera up really high and shoot over. So I'm
So it
at
gives you
the
a
front
different
of the
perspective.
stage. So I'm coming right down on top of Isaiah as he's jumping, and playing. So that's one of the things I like to do is use a fisheye lens and get this really high picture, of crowds, garbage. Shirley Manson came right up, to the camera when it was up way up in the stage and looked right into it, which was really fun. They use that photo on their pages and stuff. The next picture is Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails, and that picture is with infrared film in my 1975 Nikon F2 camera. And so that, in order to shoot that film, you have to have a red filter on it, so you can almost not see, and it was dark. And so that picture, to have it be in focus and to actually get it captured was, super lucky.
How
Because,
how much time did it take you?
well, I only had 36 pictures, so
Inside.
yeah, one picture came out.
Oh my God. Okay, so you tried 36 times in
Yeah,
order
I
to
mean,
get
there
it.
might have been one or two that was okay, but that's the only one that really turned out, which isn't too bad for not being able to see. Yeah.
Look at that.
So, and then let's see. And then this other is a picture of Bummer, which is a local kind of noise punk band, and that is with a flash. So a lot of times, if I'm in a really dark show, I'll use a flash. Now this one isn't the infrared camera and infrared flash. This is actually just a white flash, but I'll take a really long exposure, and then I'll twist the camera and move it, and I'll sync it with the rear shutter.
Okay.
So it will. What that does is the shutter opens, and so it's capturing light, it's capturing movement, and then then it flashes and the shutter closes. So it stops the action at the end of the movement.
Okay.
So my hand will blur from here to here,
And then stop it.
and then it stops it in focus there. Otherwise, if you do it at the first shutter, it'll be clear here,
And then
and
kind of
then
be blurry.
blurry, and it'll be blurry over top of what's lit. And so that's a way. In any case, that picture is showing that. Um,
And it's the same thing you told me earlier. These pictures you decided to turn into black and white after or before.
Let's see. Well, the Nine Inch Nails one is black and white.
Okay.
And the other ones were digital.
So it's actually a real pleasure to have you here. If you can tell your social media to everybody that's watching us, so we can follow you and see your work in the future and the work you have done already.
Right on. Sure. So you can find me on Flickr at Zimfo, Zimfo. If you do a search there, same thing for Facebook and Instagram. Everything's under Zimfo, Zimfo.
Okay,
You
perfect.
can find our hot sauces at zims-sauces.com.
Awesome. We have to
So
also mention the hot sauces part.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that people can follow all your true
Yeah.
passions, what you do.
Rock and roll and hot
Thank you
sauce.
so much,
Well,
actually, for being here.
Yeah.
And you can follow me by my social media is going to be DIMEDUARDO. It's in Spanish. I have to change that. And thank you so much for watching this podcast again. So I hope you have learned a lot from the experience of Todd Zimmer and everything we have done today. Thank you so much. My name is Eduardo Perez. You can call me Eddie. Thank you so much. And I hope you find a new episode of The Other Place podcast.
Cheers.
Woo!
Cool, man. So this one is with a Holga, and it's a plastic camera, but it's medium format film.
Okay.
And the way you advance the film is by you twist it, just like you do regular film. You know how you cock it like this?
Okay.
But when you do it with a regular camera, it goes a full frame. This one, you twist it manually until you see on the back of the camera it has numbers, and you twist it until it goes from 1 to 2 to 3, and until you see it in the back. So what this is a piece of film about this long, and because it doesn't go frame by frame, I don't even know how many pictures. It's probably 20 pictures.
And it gives you the whole thing.
And so I took one picture and I started here, and then I moved and took another one and moved and took another one. And as Alicia, this is a Beautiful Bodies as a band, you could just see that it just kept all these multiple exposures through this whole 10-inch piece of film, which is what Hoga cameras can do.
There's a lot of stuff that you actually need to get a lot of different results. Do you
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it?
I mean that's color, and that one actually that works better in color. It wouldn't look as good in black and white, I don't think.
No, because you get a different lining.
Yeah,
Different lining. Every color is different than the
that
lining.
one's a color picture.